Okay, good. A boš najprej ti vprašal? First you will ask the lady and then I will. Okay, continue.
Okay. Okay. Daj ti, daj ti poglej sam za kartico. Se pomaga. Okay. Like I said, sem tako bom to ofo, ne sem da v bistvu da za njo. Is the CSR system integration maybe only the insurance of the governments that their home-based companies do not go on the factory in the developing markets?
I think the reason why many companies now are advocating CSR is because they want to make sure that their companies are actually competitive when they go abroad. So it's a way of keeping the companies competitive by having an internationalization strategy. Because right now we see many companies that source from or produce in developing countries, and so they want to make sure that these companies can meet various requirements from large buyers, especially large Western buyers, that increasingly ask that they have a CSR policy. So by having an outsourcing strategy combined with staying at home, CSR can help the company to become more competitive by doing both.
Okay. On the long term, how does that influence the price of the final product?
Well, of course, a big problem is that many companies feel that, especially the smaller companies, that large buyers are asking them to meet corporate social responsibility requirements, that they have to meet them, but the large buyers say, okay, you have to meet them or you can not be our customer. And that is, of course, a problem, because on the one hand, you have to, as a small company that operates abroad, you have to make sure that your suppliers are socially responsible, but you have to take on the cost. However, I think that there's really no alternative. If you cannot do that, you cannot sell your products. In the longer term, I think that many of the smaller companies that have these pressures will have to work together with the buyers so that there's some agreement about what they should do and some collaboration, capacity building and learning, so that when, for example, a large retail chain in Western Europe asks its small supplier to meet its requirements, it will have to help that small supplier meet the requirements.
Okay. Through the expanding of the European Union, how do you think the CSR will evolve? How will the CSR take place in the developing countries, which are now on the low end? Okay.
Well, I think that a lot of the new member states in the European Union.
Let's say like Romania, maybe, for instance.
Yes. Well, we've done some work with some of the new member states in terms of meeting requirements in the supply chain. We looked at a project that the EU Commission financed. It was a project financed by GT Enterprise that looked at how a large IT company tried to have its first-tier suppliers ask its second-tier suppliers, and in many cases these were SMEs, meet requirements, and there was some capacity building and learning. And some of these small SMEs in some of the first round of member states actually did very well, but there was of course also some knowledge transfer from the large buyer to this small company. It's clear that in a country such as Bulgaria, which has a very low record in terms of corruption, being a member of the European Union will help that country become better, because it has to build up its institutions, and there's of course a lot of support being provided by the European Union in order for that country to improve its institutions. And if it doesn't improve its institutions, then it will be very negative for the country, because many large companies would not want to work with companies from a country where there's a lot of corruption, because that then will trigger into the supply chain where large buyers again will say, look, if you don't have corruption under control, hey, too bad, we are not going to work with you. So it takes time, and it's true, as you say, a lot of the new countries are not as advanced as the old member states. it's a process. It's going slowly, but it's certainly improving. And so there's pressure, capacity building from the EU, but there's certainly also pressure and capacity building being offered by some of the large firms that operate in those countries.
Okay. Okay. No.
Yeah.
Did you have more?
I will be very short.
Oh, that's fine.
I have one question, but it would be on.
Oh, you can ask it.
Price is cheap. The factory runs in Bulgaria, let's say. Runs. Okay. All right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Maybe just like in this way.
Okay.
Okay. The camera. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. I will go
You'll
in this way.
be over here?
Yeah.
Yes. We have some change.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Perfect background. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Bo. Okay. So, what are the main impacts, or what are the main facts by governing sustainability in the firm?
Some of the main facts by governing sustainability in the firm. Well, I think supplier pressure is really critical. But of course, many companies are finding that in order to be competitive, they have to integrate sustainability into processes within the organization. So there's, in order to meet requirements from customers, you have to start to integrate it. I think it's really a very simple answer, but it's a very complex process in order to do it right. And many companies are still at a time where they think of CSR as an add-on maybe, or maybe a nice communication program or marketing tool. But we also see some of those companies that have done it best, where they try and integrate CSR into their product development, where they have CSR as part of risk management at the top management level and also at the supervisory board level. So increasingly, slowly, we've seen it being integrated more into the processes of the company.
And for many firms, there's also the main view also are the costs. So what shall we do, or we have be careful by the costs when we by the governing sustainability within the firm?
Okay, so a short answer and maybe also a cheating answer would be to say, all right, there can be a win-win between CSR and between profitability. But it's also true that it is for many companies, at least in the beginning, an additional cost. They have to meet various requirements from codes of conduct. They have to maybe think about how to do business in a different way. And we have to also admit that sometimes the requirements that come from large buyers are difficult for companies to meet, and the large buyers are not likely to give much support or a price premium. But again, and this is sort of maybe to be a little bit negative, I think that there's really not many opportunities for companies to do it any differently. If you don't do it, you will not have any buyers. So you have to think about how to think about this. As a large point, you could maybe also say that a key thing for companies is to prioritize their initiatives. You know, the amount of requirements placed on a firm are really endless. So what you can do is to say, all right, we focus on A and B. C and D and E and F would be nice to have, but not need to have. We have limited resources. Maybe we'll get to that at a later stage. But right now, we're over here focusing on A and B. So if criticism arises that you're not doing C and D, you can say, yeah, you are right, but we cannot do everything. And we have decided to focus on the following, A and B, because that's more important for us, and we see most value being added from that.
What do you think in Slovenia in this sphere of the sustainability? What is the climate in our companies?
In your companies? Well, it looks as if you're doing great, especially when it comes to environmental and climate initiatives. We see here in this group many entrepreneurs working in that area. Many of the companies that are present here today are really very advanced. So it looks as if you are in very good shape. One thing that has struck me is that Slovenian companies at the moment don't seem to be that much engaged with various types of multi-stakeholder codes of conduct like the UN Global Compact or the Global Reporting Initiative. But I don't know enough about why that is, but we see at least in Western Europe that there's a lot of focus on these initiatives. But in terms of creativity and entrepreneurial drive, you're great. So.
And the last question, how do you see the event? How do you see this Academy of Sustainability and the actors?
Oh, I think this is a very important event. You have companies from different backgrounds and different positions in companies. You have here people from marketing and communication, you have people from sales, you have people from top management, and you also have people from socially innovative companies come together. And I think to try and understand different perspectives and learn from your peers is probably the most valuable benefit that you can get from such an event. So I think this event is going to be very successful for your school and for Slovenian companies, hopefully.
Thank you very much, madam.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Sure.